head on the journey to Jerusalem. And then it goes from that picture of one who decides, and we see it, that as he goes, that he's got to learn on this journey to develop eyes of faith, to not just continually see with these physical eyes. Because, we live in a world, we exist on a journey of things that aren't seen. Doug, you can see things that happen and apply them to the grace of God, but we can't see the grace of God. You can see things that happen and apply them to the providence of God, but you can't see the providence of God. We can even see things and call it and say, well, this is because of the love of God, but Justin, we can't see the love of God. Okay, we see God's love because we walk with eyes of faith. We walk with eyes of belief. And so we got this picture that on this journey we have to develop these pictures, these eyes of faith, not just eyes of physical eyes. Because if we see physical eyes, what are we going to see? We're going to see evil. We're going to see selfishness. We're going to see greed. We're going to see pride. We're going to see ignorance. We're going to see hatred, deception. If all we have are physical eyes, we're just going to be depressed and want to quit all the time. We have to learn to develop eyes that see beyond that. And then we got to the next one, and the next one was this picture that this journey is going to involve both asking and affirming. That we need to learn to pray. That prayer is vital upon this journey if we're ever going to complete it. And then we got to a section of about 4 or 5 of them together, and it talks about this. Ben, this journey, ready? Be encouraged. It involves struggle. It involves weeping. Not me, I'm never going to weep. Okay, it involves just looking around and sometimes feeling like evil's won. Remember, the scepter of the evil was in Jerusalem. Sometimes it just looks like what's the use? And, that's where it gets. Sometimes it's just plain frustrating. I'm sacrificing and I'm doing and I can tell you already we're struggling because, that's I. But in the meantime, I still have all these views, and the wheel just keeps spinning, and I'm getting nowhere, and nothing's getting accomplished, and nothing's achieved, and the struggle is just frustrating. Or sometimes we even saw in a psalm that you just experienced deep wounds. Because if we don't believe what's at the end is worth it, we won't stay. Because for us, it's just the same. This journey is not exactly easy. It's not. It's not easy to sustain eyes of faith. Because I have eyes of flesh, and I want to rely on them. It's not easy to be dependent. Because there's this little rebel inside of me that wants to do everything my way. It is not easy on this journey. Because sometimes I just think I have a better way. I just think, just let me do it. You have to believe that whatever is at the end is worth it. Now that's where these 2 Psalms come in. The Psalms of Ascent, the more you look at them, I just love them. We're so used to a picture of the Psalm, and the Psalms are just thrown out there, and they're scattered all over the place, and they really don't. But the Psalms of Ascent, they're just like pictured perfect. It begins with one person making a decision, and it's going to end with forevermore. Okay, and along the journey, we see every little thing, and they're pulled out together, and intentionally, I put a couple of them together. Well, some to not make this take 15 weeks, but also because I want you to see that they go together, that God has taken these things out, and he's put them right there together in the middle of the songbook, and he said, here, let me encourage you with this snapshot of what your life is like. Here's where it begins, and this morning we'll see kind of where this life as we know it ends anyway. Psalm 133. By the way, this is not just a Psalm of Ascent, this is another Psalm of David. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even on Aaron's beard, and went down to the skirts of his garment. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. And the dew of Hermon, largest mountain in that area, as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessings, even life forevermore. Psalm 134. Behold, bless ye the Lord, all ye servants of the Lord, which by night stand in the house of the Lord. Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless the Lord. The Lord that made heaven and earth, bless thee out of Zion. Now, here's what I want us to start to see. Men, what is it going to look like in the end? Well, it starts off right away. How good and how pleasant it's going to be. Well, how do we know we're talking about the end? Well, look at verse 3. Here we go. As the dew of Hermon, as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Preacher, when they go up on this journey to Jerusalem, you know what they're going to have to do as soon as they go back home? They're going to have to go back again, and then they're going to go back again, and then you're going to have a new year, and they're going to go back again, and they're going to go back again. This verse is not talking about going back again and again and again. This is talking about a final ascent forevermore. This is, there will be a time when we ascend the hill. That's the time we see him, we shall behold him face to face. This is talking about that time. And when you look at these two Psalms, there's just like, what awaits us? What awaits us at this forevermore time? We're done. Psalm 133 is all about blessing. Psalm 134, it's all about blessing. There you go. What awaits us? One word, blessing. Psalm 133, God's going to bless us. Psalm 134, amazing, we bless God. And I just can't get over this idea that this whole thing begins with being one person making a decision on a far distance from God. And then we end up here in 133 and 134, and it's now this picture of a whole nation. It's a whole group of people. And you want to talk about this picture of ascending, how it's supposed to be, that's how it's supposed to work. One person makes a decision, and then in the end you have this whole community who's now rejoicing in God's presence because of this one person's journey. So I just thought that we'll probably build a good lesson right there, but it doesn't exactly flow. What does God's blessing look like? He's going to bless us. Well, what does it look like? Well, in the very beginning, it tells us it's going to be blessed by reconciliation. God will bless us with reconciliation to him and then one to another. Now, Angie, this sounds like perfect. Brothers, they're always reconciled. They always agree. There's always community among brothers. Right? There's never a fight in the house. Well, at least not when you're home. You might come home and find like a hockey stick stuck through a door. Or a bat stuck through a door. Oh, but I didn't find that one. I didn't find the bat either. They put this nice little poster over it that stuck there until we moved. Eric, he was smart. Josh, I just want to know what you were going to do if Eric opened the door while you were chasing him with doggy sticks. We want to take this picture like, in fact, we want to go this far. I have to be careful because this, the preacher's mama clause will come out if I say this church doesn't have unity. We want to believe we all get along. We want to believe we all have single mind, single purpose. I mean, look, we're giving up Sunday morning. Look at all the things we could be doing. We're going to give up Sunday night. We're the good group. We're going to give up Wednesday night. We love each other. But there's truth. Sometimes I love the people that sit right over there. I don't necessarily love the people that sit by Justin. Okay. I don't want to say I don't like them. No, it's just you can't like everybody. No, this verse is talking about unity. It's talking about, Brother Jeremy, it's not so bad. Well, let's start. The first brothers, Cain and Abel. Not too far away from creation, by the way. There wasn't like years for things to fall apart. Cain and Abel ends in murder. Then we can go a little bit further. We don't have to go very far. We can go like Joseph and Esau. Doesn't end in murder, ends in want to murder. Didn't happen, but sure wanted to. Packed up the whole army to go get him. Or we can go Joseph and his brothers. It didn't exactly end in murder, but they thought it did. Let's beat him, and then we'll just sell him in slavery. They'll kill him. Or this psalm's written by David. David had a great relationship with his brothers. You know, Nathan's going around. We're always hard on dad. You know, because it's blame dad. I think it goes in our society. Blame dad, blame mom. Blame my upbringing. But preacher, all them brothers were there too. None of them spoke up and said, hey, what about my little brother? You want me to go get my little brother? They all sat right there going, shh. Leave him out with the sheep. And then even when he shows up with lunch, trying to be helpful, what are you doing here? Always wanted to steal the stage. Man, you think they changed their tune after, Goliath? You want to say, well, I bet David wasn't, except for the fact that David was humble. David probably was the first one to say, no, you're still my big brother. Anyway, I'm just saying, this unity thing, it's a bigger problem than we want to give credit. Nothing does harder than the desire to think well of oneself. We want to think we're doing well here. But the truth is, it's always a problem. Right? You talk about what's going on here. Doug, this is all these people going to Jerusalem. You know, they all had their own personal problems and their own personal struggle, but there was something uniting about going to Jerusalem. When they got there, it's truly one nation. It's truly one family. It's truly one purpose. 3 times a year, all that other stuff kind of got pushed aside. And it was just single-minded, single purpose. And I'm going to tell you, when you start to look at what was going on, I'm not going to read this because I'm talking too slow. I'm really struggling. But Jewish Encyclopedia, haven't gone there very often. Surprised I had it in the library. But I did. It goes through, and it starts, well, I'll give you this. I won't. AD 60, the procurator who replaced Pilate said, I'm tired of all of this. How many people are here? How many people do I have to take care of? And they estimated all Judea probably only had 100,000 people. So, AD 60, he took account. He made them keep count of how many lambs were slaughtered. And he has a pretty good number, actually. It's 256,500 lambs slaughtered. So he figured, knows that the entire lamb has to be eaten. 10 families, 2.5 million people into a city that usually had less than 100,000. That's problems. 5 people come and stay at my house, that's problems. 2.5 million when you only have 100,000 3 times a year. Right? This city became single-purposed, all unity, one thing. It is this week of the feast. It was the most important thing. And he says, this is how we're going to be. This is us. This points us forward to the fact that there is coming a day. Hampton, we could talk about all the differences. I don't want to talk about all the differences. I want to talk about this. There is coming a day when all of the things that separate us, time or age or problems or physical or money or all the things that separate us are going to be removed wonderfully and forever. And we will live in unity. Now I'll tell you this. Maybe this is me being hopeful. Every time we get to see a little glimpse of unity, then we're really seeing a little glimpse of what heaven's going to be like. How wonderful it is to see. How encouraging it should be. Lord, thank you for the little nuggets, the little encouragement. Sometimes, what's heaven going to be like? I can tell you, just thinking about unity. I heard somebody this morning said, this world is just getting so ignorant. Justin, no ignorance. No going off in different directions. No, it doesn't make sense. It's just the way it's supposed to be. It's just shalom. God has put us in this reconciliation business, this reuniting of brothers and sisters, wives and friends and neighbors. He reconciled us through the cross, and he has commissioned us, his body, his church, to go out and reconcile others. We're to be that example. So, preacher, yeah, there's coming a day, but we're supposed to see that example every day. It's those little glimpses of heaven along the journey that help us get there. I need to know what it's going to be like. Justin, you don't know this, but you don't have any idea how much it encourages me to know that there is a Justin. No, you're laughing. I'm thank you. There are days I go to work, I'm just like, evil's winning. I just want to retreat. What's the hope? Honestly, God has brought to my heart. The hopes are Justin's. He's not done. What divides us? Age and color. I started putting these things together. We're supposed to reconcile. What divides the world today? Age, color, education, social background, money. I put this list together. The list started getting big, so I just quit. Because Galatians 3, verse 28 pops in there. Neither Jew nor Greek, neither bond nor free, neither male nor female. See, inside the church, none of those things are supposed to divide us. The body, we're the example. We're the encouraging one for outside. A little glimpse of heaven. The church is a little glimpse of heaven for all who want to look. But we're supposed to. When we dwell together in unity. When we reconcile. When we don't let the division get in there. When we don't find the bad one, the one I need to blame. The picture is, it comes across this way. I can't remember how you actually said it, but in the last couple of weeks somewhere you said something about, preacher, about when we get to heaven, we're going to be living with that person. Be careful who you get angry at, because you're going to be living with them for all eternity. And I tried to block it out because I don't like that statement very much. But the opposite, because I usually look at things negative. Then pick the guy you just struggle with the most. Because the preacher's right, you're going to be living with him for all eternity. We should probably start that, reconciliation now. If you don't, I can put it off. Well, another one of my favorite, truly, this is crazy. This is telling you like the weirdness in my heart. One of my favorite passages in Philippians, where Paul's closing out the book of Philippians, and he writes, just picture this, okay? You're one of two women in Philippi, and you hear, Paul has written a letter. We all need to assemble so we can hear what Paul has written. You're Euodias or Syntyche. I didn't name them. So they all show up, and they're all sitting down. And there's the whole congregation waiting to hear what Paul has to say. And you get to the last book, to chapter 4, and Paul calls out Euodias and Syntyche, and he says, quit fighting. Matt is in there, go read it. I can't even say Matt, and somebody be like, you shouldn't say his name. God put it in his book for all eternity. Euodias and Syntyche, quit nagging each other. You're going to live eternity forever. Can't you start getting along now? Reconcile. That's how important it is. It's a picture of heaven for the world to see. We should be doing what we can to bring about reconciliation now. The second thing blessing looks like for us is in the next verse. God blesses us all for ministry. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to skirts of his garment. Here you go. Who is Aaron? Moses' brother. That's probably what he was forever. Who's Aaron, Moses' brother? If I go to the hospital, it's like, that's Angie's wife. One thing Eric hates being known as, that's Jeremy's kid. Has no, like there's no value apart from. How long do you think Aaron was Moses' brother? Until this day. Because this day Aaron became the high priest. The same God who called out Moses and gave him a task. He had something for Aaron to do. And this is important. Here you go. Ben, I wasn't exaggerating one bit. There are times the fact that there's a Justin is so encouraging to me. That sounds good, right? The same God who's called out Justin has something for Ben to do. He has something for Hank to do. Mrs. Hank, unfortunately, you signed up for what you have to do. First Peter. When I was a kid, my mom would make us clean the house, which meant shove everything in my sister's room underneath the bed so she would get in trouble. But we had this cassette tape. You flip it over, you put it in, it has side one, side two. I was talking to somebody about that. You had to flip it over to get the music? Yeah, you had to flip it over. Unless you had one of them fancy cassette players that would just click and start playing it backwards the other way. I didn't have one of those. But on the second side of this Bobby Michael CD, there was this song. My dad hated it because it sounded like, like some calypso dance song. It started out, boom, and I'd walk around the house telling my brother and my sister to clean up on what to do. But the song was, ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation. Aaron, what power, what importance, what value being the high priest. Royal priesthood. Priest to the king. We all are. He's called us all. Here's the blessing. Doug, you matter. Oh, I can't do anything around. He never says this, preacher. It just sounds good. It fits. I can't do anything around here. He just doesn't let me. He controls everything. He. Nope. You're a royal priesthood. God has called you something to do. And let me tell you, when you're doing it, in that function, in the obedience of what he's called you to do, in that river right there flows all the blessings of God. When we're being obedient to the call, that's where blessing is. That's where unity is. It's really easy. Here's my job. Preacher, I showed up. Will you put a star by my name? Oh, I have to sing. Oh, my breath is tired. I can't sing anymore. I did my job. No. We all have been called to a task. We all are ministers of the King. Well, along this journey of faith, it just doesn't seem like it's the same. The preacher, he talks about, and then Brother Justin, he talks about, and Ben will get up there and sing, and it just sounds like God is so real to them. But in my life, it's just not the same. I got my ticket, I'm going to heaven, and I've got the things I don't do, but I just don't have this. It's just not the same for me. It's just not real. Well, have you ever accepted the fact that he's anointed you with his Holy Spirit and he's asked you to do something? Are you doing anything? Well, I don't know what to do. Well, there's certain things we know to do. We know to pray, we know to praise, we know to serve, we know to read, we know to study. It's amazing what we can hear when we're doing what we know we're supposed to do. I know he's on this road, but I'm going to stay over here and then say, well, I don't hear him. Well, that's because he's right where you're supposed to be. Doing what he's called you to do. And when we're in that lane, it's just blessing. How you know that? Because I've been off of that lane. I've been away. I've taken myself to Meshach and to Kedar. Sometimes I've even stubbornly stayed there. And then, Ben, I get on that road and on that path. And that path is not always easy. Sometimes all I focus on is how hard it is. And And now I begin to see with some eyes of faith. And even though it just seems so much harder here, people tell me it should be harder here. Justin, it just seems like blessing. It just seems like unity and things make sense. And there's just blessing. When we minister for him, there's coming a day where we're going to minister for him. What are we going to do in heaven? We're going to minister for him. But when we get to do it here, there's a little glimpse of heaven. When you stand behind that podium this morning and you make us see Christ, your words matter. But you would be surprised how much your faithfulness is what matters most. Because it's a little glimpse of heaven. It's you doing what you're supposed to do and been called to do. It's hard to overlook. Third, and you can see it here. This is my favorite. We haven't got to the last verse, but last chapter. Verse 3, as the dew of Hermon. Hermon is the tallest mountain in this area. It's over 9,000 feet. I looked it up, and I was shocked. It's covered with snow. Now, I've never been there. That's it. Notice all that nasty, dry, dusty, arid land right there? You're going to be standing in the middle of that dry, no-grass desert, and you're going to see snow. Now, that's what it's talking about right here. As the dew of Hermon that descended upon the mountain of Zion. Now, Mount Zion and Hermon. Zion's pretty good. I mean, but it's like you got to work to get up there, and you can build up there, but Hermon. Preacher, it's given this picture of, you can get at the top of Mount Zion. And I've looked at a lot of pictures of Jerusalem over the last 10 weeks. You know what? It's dry. It's even dusty. I mean, it does not look like it's overflowing with milk and honey and water. And that's kind of how I get sometimes in my life on this journey. What it's talking about is that there's a constant refreshing, like the dew of Mount Hermon. Like there's a refreshing, there's an encouraging, there's an uplifting. There's a renewal. There's a abundant supply. We'll get in areas of our life where it just seems dry, or it just seems tired, or it just seems dusty, but God will refresh, and God will renew, and we'll dwell in unity, and we'll follow our calling. And when we see that happening here, well, that's a little bit of heaven on earth. But there's coming a day when we're going to be refreshed and encouraged and renewed all the time. But when I was a kid, I asked everybody, what's heaven going to be like? Because I really thought, heaven's just going to be boring. I mean, I don't want to say that heaven's going to be boring because, I'm a little kid and I'll get in trouble. But how's heaven not going to be boring? Well, I still don't have that answer, except it's going to be constantly refreshed, constantly renewed. I'm not going to be tired or dry, or how's that going to happen? I don't know. I haven't seen him. I haven't behold him face to face. But I know something's going to happen when I do. And I'm not going to ever be bored. I'm not going to ever be tired. I'm not going to ever be dusty or crusty. Or I think about this too. You want to talk about amazing. When you picture heaven, there's going to be always unity. Now I want to pretend like I can imagine that, but I really can't imagine that. There's always disagreement. I go to dinner, I got to hold my tongue so I don't cause disagreement at the dinner table no matter who's there. Or I just don't listen to what they're saying. Which is why, Angie, when you say, I told you these things, I don't remember you telling me because I wasn't listening when you told me. But in heaven, there's just going to be constant unity. More than that, Justin, we're all going to be royal priests. You know what we're all going to be doing? What we've been called to do. There's right there, imagine that. Every person in this room doing exactly what they've been called to do. How amazing could that be? God designed this world so it would work. He's designed his body so it works. All the struggles we see because we don't do what we should do. Well, Jeremy, you talking about me? No, I'm talking about me. I know how many things I'm supposed to do that I don't do. Preacher, what would it be like if I did everything I was supposed to do in my life all the time? What would it be like if you did everything you were supposed to do in your life all the time? What would it be like if both of us did everything we were supposed to do all the time? And so did everybody else. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be amazing. And on top of all of that, you can never do more. You're never going to run out. You're never going to exhaust him. Well, I'll be so tired. No, you can't get tired. If I get tired, it's going to be constantly refreshed, constantly uplifted, constantly encouraged. Justin, what's he going to do for us? This is what he's going to do for us. This is what it's going to be like. He's going to bless us. Well, I didn't even get to what we're going to do for him, so I guess we'll be finished next week. But I just love this picture of this journey. Brother Hamilton, if we could just get a glimpse of what it's going to be like, we would be encouraged on this journey not to quit. We would be encouraged to leave Meshach and Kedar and never look back like Lot's wife. There's no value in that. In depression and discouragement. There's no value there. Anyway, Justin, will you close in a word of prayer this morning?